Hiya, my name is Stacie Townsend, and let's learn to play better pickleball with Pickler and USA Pickleball.
Hi, I'm Georgia Lyons.
And I'm Frank Cherubino.
And we are pickleball enthusiasts in the South Florida community.
More like addicts. And we're gonna break down how to do the lob on the pickleball court.
Which is very important in this game.
Says the person who's not an addict.
A lob is a shot in pickleball where you will put some height on the trajectory of the pickleball and send the ball relatively high into the air. There are two types of lobs, a defensive lob and an offensive lob. A defensive lob is a lob with much more arc. Think of a very high up and down trajectory where you expect your opponents to be able to hit an overhead back. An offensive lob is a lob that has a flatter trajectory. Think of it like a rainbow that's just over the outstretched arms of your opponents, where you're trying to win the point. The key difference between a defensive lob and an offensive lob is the angle of your paddle and the direction of your follow-through. A defensive lob requires an open paddle face toward the sky and a vertical follow-through, while an offensive lob requires an angled paddle face with an up and out follow-through.
With that background, let's get right to it. We're going to give you tips on how to hit a perfect lob on the pickleball court.
Number 1, preparation. Prepare for the lob in a similar manner as a drop or a dink. It's important to disguise the lob, as the lob is most effective when it's unexpected. This means that you will hit the underside of the pickleball out in front of your body with a short backswing. Be careful not to let the pickleball drop too low or you will struggle to get under the ball. Number 2, forehands preferred. Forehand lobs will generally be easier and more consistent than backhand lobs. As a result, try to prepare your feet so the pickleball is off to your forehand side. Number 3, court positioning. Try hitting the lob when you are at the non-volley zone line. A lob is generally easier to execute at the kitchen line when you're in a dink rally, as all of the players will likely be leaning in over the kitchen line, and the lob may help get your opponents moving and off balance. Number 4, use the elements. Whether you're playing outdoors or indoors, use the elements to your advantage. For instance, lob the pickleball so that your opponents have to look into the sun, lights, or rafters to find the pickleball.
But be careful if you're playing out there in the wind. The best rule of thumb is lob against the wind, but not with the wind.
Number 5, aim for the non-paddle side. This will require your opponents to run around the pickleball or force your opponents to hit a backhand, which is oftentimes their weaker side. If you lob to your opponent's forehand side, you could be setting your opponents up for an easy overhead. Number 6, a lob is effective when you make your opponents move back on the pickleball court. So consider targeting your opponent with the weakest mobility. Also, consider the height of your opponents. Is one of your opponents shorter than the other, making for an easy lob?
A lob can be very effective on the pickleball court, especially if you use these quick tips.
However, don't overuse the lob. You should always remain unpredictable in your shot selection.
If you like this pickleball video, be sure to share it with your pickleball friends and partners, and we'll see you out on the pickleball courts.